but recognizing the achievements of women in all facets of life, science, community, government, literature, art, sports, medicine, has a huge impact on the development of self-respect and new opportunities for girls and young women. The impact of women's history might seem abstract to some and less pressing than the immediate struggles of working women today. But to ignore the vital role that women's dreams and accomplishments play in our own lives would be a great mistake. Now I'm going to tell you a little history of our Women's HerStory Month celebration. About a month or a month and a half ago, I received a call from one of our legislators, our members, Wanda Willingham, who believed that our legislature should honor some of the outstanding women in our county. And as I am always a delegator, I right away said, Wanda, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to call the majority leader, Frank Camiso, and the minority leader, Frank Moriello. And the one thing she mentioned right away is she wanted it to be a bipartisan, non-political event. And whenever I hear a legislator from Albany say they want something non-political, especially in this year, that's music to my ears. So the two leaders I spoke to, and they all agreed it was a great idea. So I delegated right away and said, Wanda, congratulations, you're the chair of the event. And she right away said, well, this is a bipartisan event. And I said, well, I agree with that, and we have an outstanding person in the minority conference who's been a great partner on a lot of everything that we do in the legislature, and that's Patty Lockhart, who's been around for years. So I said she would be an outstanding co-chair. So my role here is just to welcome you today.
Because I can. And I'm proud to say that out of the 1,200 members I have at the association, over 400 of them are women, judges, and soon-to-be judges. But I think what you'll find today is that same can-do spirit in all of our honorees. And so I want to kick it off and get right to the ceremony and start introducing the legislators. And what our format will be today is that I will introduce them very briefly, and they'll come up and talk about their honoree. So again, welcome, and we're going to get started. We're not going to go in the order of the program. We're going to move right to the Honorable Wanda Willingham.
Women's History Month. We know that women are the ones that drive the world as far as I am concerned. There are certain women that have meant a lot to me in my life, outside of my mother, who, of course, I think was one of the greatest women in the world. A few years ago, I walked into B Lodges, and I saw Mr. Yonley. And for some reason or other, he started talking about his mother. And he told me some things about her that I never forgot. Lillian Yonley is one of the first women in history trained to fly military aircraft as one of the women Air Force service pilots, commonly known as WASPs. It's a unique group of women who were selected during World War II to relieve men from training exercises so that they could fly in combat. Miss Yonley served in the 7th class of the Women's Flying Training Detachment, which allowed women pilots to lead various training exercises for the men, including aircraft tracking both during the night and at high altitude, along with essentially acting as target practice for combat training scenarios. I think that is something that when we talked about a trailblazer today, that's a trailblazer for me. It's something that I never forgot, and I am privileged to be able to honor Miss Lillian Yonley today.
Reverend Joy Cardwell is a person that I'm going to honor this morning. It's because with her program, she taught carpentry to women, and she trained over 3,000 women in New York City, and she has an all-craft program that she's going to bring here to Albany. And this is to bring people to learn the women how they can achieve themselves and make better women of themselves. So we just wanted to recognize Reverend Joy Cardwell because she is a person that encouraged me and she inspired me, other than my mother, but she inspired me to say, okay, women can be whatever they want to be. If it's any kind of business they want to do, whatever you want to be, and what's inside of you, you can bring this out of yourself. But this woman that I'm recognizing here is because she felt the need and the hurt and the pain of people that were addicted to crack, cocaine, or any type of other diseases, alcoholic or whatever. But I just really want to thank you, Joyce Hartwell, for what you're doing and for your dream that you're creating and what you have done. And I wanted to just recognize you for that. So let's hear you get a handshake for Miss Reverend Joyce Hartwell.
Barbara's a writer, editor, publisher, scholar, professor. She's been an elected official, an activist, an organizer. She's the kind of woman who sees a void and fills it. She's done this many times in her life. Back in 1974, when the white feminist movement was not addressing her needs and those of her peers, she was instrumental in forming the Combahee River Collective, which was a black feminist lesbian organization that had a spin-off in Boston. When no one was framing the interlocking oppressions about gender, race, and sexuality, Barbara and her colleagues in the collective introduced a new term, identity politics, and this approach, now it's called intersectionality, has shaped scholarship, teaching, and progressive action. When the needs of the folks of her neighborhood were not being met, she became a Common Council member. She brought her progressive ideas and stuck to her code during the experience. Here's a quote that she had to say about it. "How can I stick it to the man if I am the man? This is a most peculiar place for an unreconstructed 60s radical to be, but running for office just seemed like the next logical thing to do. Every single day, I find myself making delicate calibrations about how to move forward to get something accomplished, to be effective, to honor relationships, and to maintain my principles. It is extremely challenging work. I feel in some ways that being in this position is the ultimate test of my black feminist politics," end quote. As a Common Council member, Smith focused on issues of public safety, gun violence, and was instrumental in establishing the SNUG and ceasefire in Albany. When the field of black women's studies was emerging, Barbara was there. Many volumes that she edited or co-edited are considered seminal tomes, and I have not really been in a feminist household where there's not at least one of her books on the shelf, if not all of them. Her book, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around, 40 Years of Movement Building with Barbara Smith, is the who's who of strategizing that expanded the definitions of freedom. It easily engages readers who like to think about integrity, accountability, and courage. If you want to learn more about Barbara, you really just have to Google her because it just goes on, and it's very difficult to decide what exactly to include here today. She's been on a PBS special about makers, I don't know if you caught that, people who were first in their field, and she paved the way for those who followed. You can also listen to her on the round table, I believe on Friday mornings. I do enjoy when I'm going in late to work, catching a little bit of that. Barbara's work has not only been illuminating, but a source of guidance and inspiration to individuals and movements committed to battling both external and internal oppression. I am delighted, this girl from GE is delighted to honor you today, and I hope, congratulations.
Today, I have the distinct privilege to honor a friend and a colleague, Cynthia Shaker, with the Albany County Legislature's Trailblazing Woman Visits Award. Many here have heard her name or know her personally, but I can guarantee you that every member of the New York State Assembly and Senate, their staffs and leadership, know exactly who she is, as she is synonymous with government relations. Cindy received her Bachelor of Science from Cornell University and her Juris Doctorate from Western New England University School of Law. She is admitted to the bar in New York State and is a member of the Albany County Bar Association, the New York State Bar Association, and the Women's Bar Association. Cindy started her career in government relations over 2 decades ago, serving as counsel to 3 Assembly majority leaders. Deciding she wanted to take a turn on the other side of the desk, she became a founding member of Wilson, Elser, Moskowitz, Edelman, and Dickers' Albany government relations practice. For over 20 years, she has been deeply involved in all aspects of government relations, representing clients from the largest Fortune 500 companies to the smallest non-for-profits. She went on to grow her government affairs practice dramatically to encompass a range of industries and issues, from healthcare and automobile dealers to telecommunication and insurance companies to public entities and, as I said, non-for-profits. As Cindy always moves onward and upward, she recently founded Shaker, Russo, and Clark LLP, a woman-owned business right here in Albany, where she continues her work advocating for her clients every single day, where she turns those no's into yeses and those no you can'ts into yes I can. I became acquainted with Cindy when I became a legislative director for the New York State Assembly. However, we became friends, to my surprise, when she was the individual who interviewed me for the Eleanor's Legacy Campaign Grant Program. This is a program, as many of you know, that one of my personal heroes actually is Eleanor Roosevelt, another woman who turned no into yes, and who I have no doubt is also a personal hero to you as well. Cindy is an active supporter of family planning advocates and To Life, as well as tirelessly advocating for the Easter Seals Camp Colony, a wonderful project that I had an opportunity to work on as well. This is not the end of her story. While accomplishing all this, Cindy is also a wife and a mother to 2 daughters. Many here know all too well the challenges women face as professionals with careers and balancing their home life. So thank you, Cindy, for making it look easy, though I know it was probably not. But moreover, being an example to all women of how we can turn no into yes, and no you can't into yes I can. So with that, we would like to honor you today with a proclamation.
I am so humbled in front of these honorees, and I have the great honor to introduce Pauline Williman, who wasn't out there running for office or made a big business or, all these other things that you can do. All by herself, Pauline was born and raised on 200 acres out in the western part of Thompson Lake. She's 91 years old, by the way, just January, so we'll wish her happy birthday. Her family had a farm out there. Part of it was dairy cows, part of it was, produce and harvesting vegetables. And the whole family worked together on that farm for many years. And as life goes on and her mom and her dad and her brother deceased and passed away, Pauline was left with it, with some nieces and nephews still on the farm. She was born right in the house that her parents lived in. And it came a number of years ago where the regional food bank, who was in need of some fresh produce and so forth, they made an agreement with Pauline, and she legally put the farm into the hands, so forever the regional food bank will have fresh produce from her farm. So I think this is fantastic in her own. Here she is out in the bronies, as we call it, in the hill towns, and is touching so many lives that she doesn't even know. And for that, I think we'll always be grateful. She still tells me, she goes out and still tells some people what to do, but she says she's slowing down a bit. But we thank you so much, Pauline, for your dedication to the community and for all that you have done. And it was funny tonight, too, because she was also a stenographer in the Senate, correct? Yeah, and Peter Krause here, my colleague from the Minority Office, he came in and I introduced her. He says, "Oh, I know her." And he was so excited to see you again. So it's a great honor today to be able to present you with this proclamation and some flowers for your work.
The person that I'm honoring today, I'm thrilled and honored to have this opportunity. Bea Grouse is new to Albany County. She moved here quite recently, within the last couple of years. She currently serves as the president and CEO of the Healthcare Association of New York State. She is a powerhouse, and one of the things that I just love about her, and I love watching, is I love watching her function in the highest level position of a state association where just about not all, but just about every CEO of a hospital in New York State is a man. There are some women, I know, but they are truly the minority. Most of them are very influential hospital CEOs from every corner of New York State. And in her role as the CEO of Haney's, she is functioning at a level where she is communicating, she is advocating, she is educating all of these folks in a very male-dominated environment. And for me personally, it makes it a lot of fun for me to watch her as sort of a bystander. I first met Bea in the 1990s. I've known her for a long time, as I know many of you have known the other honorees for a good part of your career. And I have known Bea since the mid-1990s or early 1990s, when Bea and I were congressional staffers together, serving for two Democrats in the Massachusetts congressional delegation. Over the course of her career, she obviously moved on to very important positions after serving on Capitol Hill, served in a law firm, lobbying firm in Washington, handling health policy issues. She also served for 14 years as the CEO of the Vermont Hospital Association. She also I love this about her background. She's not just a healthcare executive. She also is an attorney, and she's a nurse, which I think is a wonderful combination of a caregiver who is functioning in an executive leadership level. And I think that makes her pretty unique and special. In the early part of her career, she actually was a nurse in an emergency room in California. So she gets caregiving. We owe you a special gratitude, and please join me with a big warm round of applause for honoring Bea Grouse, one of my heroes.
This lady, who was one of my big inspirations all my life, I'm going to share with you. Maya Angelou. She was an inspiration. White House, she's done it all. Theaters, playwright, dancer, singer. I bring to you her poem. Still I rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may throd me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes of springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my naughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awfully hard? 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I hear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into the daybreak that's wonderful clear, I rise. Bring the gifts that our ancestors give us. I am the dream. I'm the hope. I am the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise, ladies. Thank you. To carry on, I'll ask Mrs. Thorpe to please come forth so I can have you accept for Tamara Thorpe, wonderful mother who's raised her daughter, her other daughters, which are also here today. But when we can have bright young ladies come from Albany South End, she's at a high school over in Schenectady today, serving as a proctor over the exams for all the seniors. So Tamara couldn't be here. She's like us, you gotta be where you gotta be. I said, you gotta do what you wanna do. Get her done, girl, just get her done. So, Ms. Thorpe, could you please come forth here so I can have you this to accept. Accepting for Tamara Thorpe is her mother.
So I bring to you now our last honoree. This woman really fascinated me when I met her. One thing, she's brilliant. And she's a good-looking woman, too. I just want you to know that. She's the tallest one here. She's proud of who she is. She's comfortable in her skin. And I really like that about her. So Cecilia, or Secy as they call her, Alfonso, is an award-winning, I want y'all to listen to how brilliant this woman is. Clinical forensic social worker, mitigation specialist, and has for decades provided expert analysis and testimony in death penalty and domestic violence cases across the United States and abroad. In 1987, Secy Alfonso wrote one of the first articles on the role of the social worker in death penalty cases and continued her pioneering work throughout the last 30 years as president of Alfonso Consultants. In that position, Secy has testified in the penalty phase of hundreds of capital cases and criminal and divorce proceedings. Secy also serves on the Board of Citizens Action of New York and Albany and fights for issues that are important to working families across the state. She's worked as an adjunct professor at the College of St. Rose in Albany and has spoken several times at Albany Law School. She graduated from the Montefiore School of Practical Nursing, Hood College, and the Rutgers Graduate School of Social Work. In 2008, the governor of New Jersey presented Secy a recognition award for her significant contribution to the ultimate abolition of the death penalty in New Jersey. Today and this afternoon, I present to you what I feel is one of the most brilliant women as far as women are concerned, but I think she's a great representative of what we want our young women to become. And she serves as a great role model. And even though I talked about her in her work as far as the death penalty is concerned, she also worked alongside Barbara Smith in forging ahead with women's rights. And they presented the first group in regards to rights as far as lesbians and ensuring that, letting people know that it's okay to be who you are in your skin as you are. I wish that these wonderful women had an opportunity to speak about some of the things that they feel very strongly about. And I hate so that you don't have the opportunity. But we will present the opportunity at some time for these women to actually get up and talk about the things that are going on in today's world and how they are still active and moving ahead for the rights of women, but not just for women, but for the whole world and for women and people and children and men as a whole. And so I present to you right now, Cecilia Alfonso.